Welcome to another episode of the House Huddle Podcast. Here are your hosts, Rob Schwartz and Justin Onayemi, two Bears fans who decided talking into a microphone was better than shouting at their television.
Well, it's not Justin Onayemi. Shocker. It's Bob Weiss. Welcome to the House Huddle, Bob.
I'm back. Happy to be back. Long summer off. Sunburn maybe, but I'm back.
Yeah, it's good to have you. Justin couldn't make it tonight, and I'm glad you were able to join in because it's definitely not as fun when I'm sitting here talking by myself.
Yeah, I can imagine. You do a good job with it, though. Of course, you do a good job with it, but yeah.
Appreciate it.
Friends, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the House Huddle, this is a no huddle episode, so we will not be huddling up. But before we jump in, I do want to remind everybody to head over to our sign up page with BetStamp. You can go to signupexpert.com/huddle, and you will find a list of links to any sports book that is in your area. Maybe your state recently approved sports books, and you can access some of those new ones there. Maybe you've only been playing on one. You can see what other odds are available. And there's also daily fantasy sport links as well. So check those out. Use those sign-up links. Support our show, and we appreciate that. Also, if you hit that subscribe button right now, you'll automatically be entered into a free giveaway. We are only a little bit over 100 subscribers away for giving that jersey away. You're going to get a free Bears jersey of your choice, any player, as long as it's not a customized jersey. So, episode 4 of Hard Knocks. That's where we are at now. And I think there's only one left before this season starts. And
yeah,
it's going to be a nice little break, or I should say a nice little extra for us leading into that break, going into that first game.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. I definitely had thought that, oh, man, there's not much Bears to get through between now and opening of the season. But, yeah, I guess we have one more of these. And I'm glad because honestly, when I started watching the episode, I thought it was going to be the last one. But I guess It makes sense with the actual cuts today. They weren't going to have that edited in time to go out. But
yeah,
the episode ended. I was like, what? No cuts? Like, oh, right. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. But we get one more episode. So
we get one more. It'll be interesting because we do know, obviously, who is getting cut. How much of that is going to actually show up in the final episode?
Yeah, I mean, they kind of, I guess we want to go through the episode, but, we know a couple of people who got cut. And we know a couple of people who were featured, at least in this episode today. So, there'll be, some of that going on next week, I'm sure.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw 670 The Score clip or maybe heard it actually live on the radio, but Bernstein and who's with him? Is it Bernstein and Holmes? Yeah, Bernstein and Lawrence Holmes. Bernstein was complaining about how the Chicago Bears have broken Hard Knocks.
Yeah, they sanitized it quite a bit. I've heard some of the rumbling, and I can't say that I disagree. That doesn't mean I'm not necessarily enjoying it, but it's definitely seems like just a big Bears puff piece more than anything.
So I will agree to a certain point. I am actually glad that there's not a lot of swearing. I have a 12 and a 10-year-old, and I'd rather than watch this than and get to know the passion that I have for this team during a fun time. I mean, in my opinion, like this is a great time to be a Bears fan.
Absolutely.
And I don't have to worry about Jesus, they're dropping more F-bombs. They're dropping, I don't have to worry about that. So I do enjoy that part of it. It's definitely been a little bit different. But one of the things he complained about or said that he wanted to see in this episode was, I really wanted to see like all the coaches and the front office staff sitting around the table. And I want to see them just, hashing it out and talking about players and why they want this guy and how many of these players are how many of this position. And we saw that in the first 3 minutes of the episode.
A little bit. I mean, not in as much detail as I think they were wanted, but I almost wanted to go back and rewind and they had Ian Cunningham going through the number of players each position and see if they'd added 53 or if that was like the 61 that he liked that wanted to get down to 53.
Right.
It seemed like there might have been a few too extra But yeah, I didn't. I was just kind of curious. I would have loved then to have the conversation of like, all right, so now this is we got to get down to 53 from this number, or how hard was it to get to that number.
Yeah, and I didn't have my calculator out either, so I have no idea. I did hear the number 24 at one point, I'm assuming, and then they said +3 for the special teams, so I didn't hear how many they had on the other side of the ball. But, yeah, so that is an interesting point. We'll have to go back and check that out. I do want to point out the first 3 minutes, fantastic, and then it just kind of –
It's funny. We had the exact same thought process. Like, I went all the way up through it. I don't know, they made some comment during practice about like find the best player and run through them. I'm like, oh wow, that's actually some inside, like we didn't get a lot of those types of sound bites during practice either. So the first 3 to 5 minutes of this episode, I was like, oh, finally, something real. And then it just kind of turned back into a puff piece after that. I mean, there was still some interesting content in it, but it wasn't necessarily the inside look of what's actually happening in practice that you want. It's more just let's get to know these guys, which is fine too, but it's just not necessarily what you come to expect with Hard Knocks.
I don't think we've talked enough about it in the offseason, like you and me personally, but did you watch all of or part of the New York Giants offseason?
Just clips I had meant to getting into because I heard obviously they touched on it in this Hard Knocks, but I definitely heard that it was like some real inside look into exactly how they evaluate these players. I mean, not just the interviews with the players, but real in depth about the decisions, how the decisions are made, and so I've heard really good things about it, but no, I didn't watch it.
I highly suggest just going back, but if you saw some of the clips, it's probably good enough, but that to me is like the best part of anything I've ever seen of Hard Knocks. Like I'd rather watch that than I would training camp or even the in-season stuff. Like, because me personally, like I am not athletic enough to I've ever thought that I would make it to the NFL, but I would hope that like, had I put my mind to it and thought, oh, I could have gotten into a front office, I could have been a scout. Like those types of things kind of like drive me a little bit more. So like I can connect with it a little bit better. And that's kind of what I do. And what we do on this show is like analyze all that stuff towards the end of the year, going through the draft process. To me, that's the best time of year. They hinted at the fact that Ryan Poles doesn't think that they can find any other team willing to do that type of episode again. So we'll see where it goes from here, but
yeah, I mean, it's interesting. And the teams that would have to sign up for that again are teams that are either super secure in what they're doing and they're not worried about anything because they're
not Chicago,
or teams like the Giants who are like, really doesn't matter. It's going to work, or we're going to stay, or we're gone anyway. So whatever. But
so diving back into episode 4, just to kind of keep it going in order. After those 5 minutes, like what stood out to you?
I mean, not necessarily a whole bunch.
Or if there was anything specific within those 5 minutes, besides the trying to count the how many.
I definitely, it's something you guys, I know I heard Justin talk about when Adunze in the back of the end zone was like, he's out of bounds. And well, there's 2 different end lines. What's he supposed to do? And like Ryan Poles basically said the paint wasn't filled in, and that contributed to Adunze being out of the end zone. So I thought that was interesting. I guess this isn't necessarily specific to this episode, but like, and now we know for sure, but this Velus Jones, is he going to make the team storyline was never real, right? Like it was
like you thought he was always going to be
going to make the team, right?
I think because of his kick return specialty, yes.
See, that's the one thing that like actually I've always been much more of a Velus Jones guy than I know you and Justin have been. I know it's easy to make Velus Jones jokes. He makes it easy, and he's the oldest guy on the team, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff.
In the league.
If he's on the team solely for his kickoffs, he can't do what he did a couple weeks ago and drop a kickoff by trying to catch it like this.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
So, like I don't know. I never thought he was in danger of missing the team. The move to running back is interesting, but is he? Do you trust him to pass protect?
No, not at all.
Like, that when he's lined up at running back, they're either running it or it's going to be some type of really quick action.
Which is exactly what Justin said yesterday when we were, or was it yesterday? Well, he did mention it yesterday on the Chicago the Chicago Sports Bums podcast. I call it the Bumcast. He mentioned it on there, but he also mentioned on our episode, which actually we recorded Sunday, but it came out yesterday morning.
Like I told you, I'm a little bit behind on house huddler. I haven't been a great huddler, but
that's all right. That's all right. You're a part of the show. It's okay. But he did mention, like, if Velus is out there, like, clearly he's either getting the ball or he's a decoy, right? Like, it's either one or the other, and you can't really do much about that. I don't think he's going to have his, like, little packages. I mean, I do think, it's interesting because I don't know if you saw it, but they actually kept him as a wide receiver. I don't know if that means anything.
I don't know.
Cordell Patterson was listed as a wide receiver too, right? But he was only used. Percy Harvin, same situation.
Right. And I guess you kind of go back to those Percy Harvins, and even when Velus got drafted, everyone's like top case scenario in our head was Deebo Samuel, right? Samuel's still effective out of the backfield.
Right.
So you find ways, even though Deebo's standing in the backfield, he still makes plays, and they find a way to make it work. So, maybe I'm just saying, like, I don't trust Velus Jones, and
I don't trust him either.
Kickoff was the final straw for me in the Velus Jones saga. I'm out on Velus Jones until I see the positive plays outweigh the negative plays consistently.
Okay. Here's a question for you. Do you trust Velus Jones more as the kick returner / specialty player? Okay, we'll just call him that. Or do you trust whoever they put back there in punt return more? Who are you taking over?
I mean, they kept DeAndre Carter, right? So, is he the first guy cut, or is he like actually the punt returner? He's what, a 6, 7, 8-year veteran. So
he's got the what's the word I'm looking for? Like, he's shown it on tape. Like, he's got the history, right? Like,
and then the other thing, I know it's not necessarily what you want, but like, I think part of the reason they put Velus at running back is to get this talented guy more touches, right?
100%.
So I could see them doing the same thing at punt returner with the Dunze, right? We're getting into the week 3 or 4, and he's just not getting his targets, and it's like, hey, what can we do to get the ball in this guy's hands? Well, let's just let Rome return some punts. So I could see that.
Yeah, I don't hate that idea. I mean, I'd have to look at numbers, but I can't imagine that punt returners are getting hurt any more than any other player on the field, right? So I know that people get concerned all the time, like, well, why are you wasting him in punt return? Well, maybe you're not wasting him. Maybe you're wasting him by not getting him enough, like you said, targets, right? Like, we know Shane Waldron prefers a 2 wide receiver set with 2 tight ends. He's going to run a lot of 12 and 22, even 23 at times, and 13 at times. So it's like, my hope is that he gets like JSN type stuff, right? That we saw with Waldron with Seattle.
5 weeks of JSN type stuff.
I'm sorry?
Last 5 weeks of JSN type
There we go. Exactly. Yeah.
You don't want, wait that long to start making an impact. But
right. But like you said, maybe getting him the ball in punt return will, help at least get him some reps prior to those last 5 weeks.
So I know that you and I we haven't talked Bears in a while, so we're just talking Bears right now. Should we get back to the episode a little bit more?
Yeah. So the thing that jumped out at me, and it was towards the beginning, so maybe I'm going a little bit too far back here, but the fact that we got to see Chad Morton ripping on Ian Wheeler some more.
So that's one thing. I've enjoyed Chad Morton a lot in this show. He's the one, man. Like, what if we really got an uncensored Chad Morton? That's
right.
I do kind of miss that a little bit, but
I think the best part of the whole episode, to be honest, outside of like the table talk, which was kind of cool with both Ryan Poles and Ian Cunningham, and then the whole table, like that part was cool. But then having Chad Morton just basically say, you're like that Jason guy with the no expression on his face, and if you took that mask off, it's just gonna be your face. Like, that cracked me up so much.
Yeah, he's had some real good lines. I mean, yeah, he's been good. Trying to think of the other stuff. What do you think of Mr. Bagent getting featured again? A little too much, or he's
a character, so I think it's kind of easy to do.
Right.
And then obviously his. Both Bagents are.
Yeah, they're both entertaining. I don't mind Tyson get his features as much as he has. It just
right.
seemed like we got the Mr. Bagent treatment last week.
Yeah. I mean, again, maybe they're just stringing it along. It's more of
if they had more actual insider content, they wouldn't have needed that 3-minute montage of the arm wrestling. But,
exactly. Yeah, again, and that's kind of what led this to be, in my opinion, out of the 4 episodes, it was the worst. Like, it was the most boring.
It was crazy because I thought it started out the best, and then it just kind of we'll give you a taste of what this is supposed to be.
Right.
Kind of go back to this other stuff, which is still interesting, but like, it's really just an hour-long stitched together, like what they do on their YouTube channel already, basically.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that's where we're seeing the fact that, teams get to control the content.
Right. But I'd still rather have it than not. Like, I'm not, I'm glad the Bears did. I'm glad they got convinced to do it.
Or forced.
It's just not, or forced, whatever. But I mean, clearly they're giving in to some of the Bears' demand. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's some give and take. So the Bears said, yes, we'll do it, but we want this. And they're like, okay, sure. So I'm so glad that happened than just, having I don't know what the other contenders, like the Colts could have done it again, I think. I forget who the other teams that, like, could have been forced to do it.
I think the Saints were still on there.
The Saints, maybe that sounds right, yeah. So this is still better than that. But so I think my favorite line from this episode is when they were doing, like, Theo's, like, little debacle of confusing Clorox wipe with dude wipes. And what did he say? I actually wrote, I understand it wasn't ideal, as if, like, he's defending it as still, like, a reasonable, like, come on, man. How do you not get it?
It's a Canadian thing.
I guess. Maybe just the whole concept of dude wipes is foreign to Canadians.
I guess.
I don't know.
They're a little bit more rugged maybe up there. They like that musk.
But that made me laugh genuinely, so I enjoyed that.
Yeah. The grocery shopping, like, again.
Yeah, I didn't, I did write down because, I'm taking notes. Like, I guess I don't know where they're from, but, like, the idea of a 24-hour market was completely foreign. Like,
right.
Are you crazy? Like, I don't know. I feel like maybe it's just growing up here in the suburbs of Chicago. It just happens. Or maybe it's because it was Woodman's. I don't know if you called it that it was Woodman's.
I didn't catch that it was Woodman's. I honestly was trying to figure it
out there. Like, Woodman's are gigantic, so maybe they just thought, "Oh my gosh, this gigantic place is open 24 hours," and that was more it or not. But
right, I'll be honest. I have nothing open 24 hours by me anymore. Like, we used to pre-COVID, and now that COVID hit, everything is just shuts down at either 11 o'clock or midnight.
Really, all there right on Randall, even.
Yep, Meyer used to be, not anymore. They close at 11 or 12. Jewel closes at midnight. Walmart midnight. Even fast food, like McDonald's, isn't open 24 hours by us anymore. So
I guess I'm just not really ever awake that late anymore.
Right.
So.
Well, yeah, that could be part of it too.
But back 10, 15 years ago, if stuff wasn't open, then that'd be a problem.
Yeah. We even have a Taco Bell that closes at like 8 o'clock on Saturdays. Like, it's the dumbest thing.
Just bad business.
I think it's because they're short staffed still and clearly poorly run management wise. But
it's interesting. So another thing that kind of stood out to me, do you think it was weird that they didn't address the severe injury at the start of the second half, like, at all?
You're talking about the ACL?
No, not even, but like.
Oh yeah, the
he got carted off.
Yeah, they didn't mention it. Yeah,
at all.
That is a little weird. So I did not watch that live, and I was trying to
either. But I caught it during my rewatch of the game and stuff, and like.
So for my broadcast, and I don't know if it was everybody's broadcast, but it like basically like blacked it out.
Yeah.
Like if it was basically like the. Like a warning on the screen like came on, and like it wasn't allowing me to watch anything, and then it kept like rewinding back to that point, and I had to fast forward way past it to get like through that section of the game. Like, they originally showed the injury. It was almost like I'm blanking on the Buffalo Bills guy.
Hamlin.
Yeah, it was kind of like that, but like at some point they cut away from it. I don't know if you remember, but they cut away from that during the game. It was kind of like that, but for a longer period of time. And it was way less severe than that. But at the same time, clearly they didn't want to show anything.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was an Xfinity thing, because that's what I have. But.
It sounds like it's a league thing now. The league, controlling that, and then, not allowing it to go out and hard knocks.
Right. Maybe they cut back on it because of the Hamlin thing. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I thought that was kind of odd. I thought that was going to be a big storyline to this. Like one of your players,
Right.
Severely hurt. How does that impact actual human beings trying to play the game?
Yeah.
That being said, they did make up with a real human moment with, Wheeler and his mom and everything. I thought that was really well done. I enjoyed that,
They did. Clearly not the same severity, right? I mean,
no. But, in terms of just, making these players, these warriors out to be real human beings, I think that they did a good job, at least, with that part of it.
Yeah, I think they did a good job. Also with Coach King too, right? Like getting her on here and like giving her, some time. But yeah, with the Ian Wheeler situation, it's interesting because Justin and I both thought he could be a Velus Jones replacement.
Okay.
The only thing is he also can't hold on to the football.
Well, I actually made that note too because early on in the first few episodes, he was dropping everything.
Yeah, he did catch that football.
Yeah, he had a couple nice catches in the game today, in the highlight package of the game today. So I'm like, all right, that's improvement. And then Morton even said how much improvement he's made. Oh no, it was
it was King.
Yeah, King, who said how much improvement he's made over the last 3 weeks, and I mean that's got to be legitimate too because let's be honest, if he didn't make that much progress in the last 3 weeks, they wouldn't have put him on IR and kept him out. He would just.
Right, he's got a redshirt year.
At least you got some medical stuff to fall back on.
Exactly. Yeah, people are joking. Like, should he, use this time to go to medical school instead? I don't know. I mean, I think this is like a once in a lifetime opportunity. Medical school can wait.
And if he's, maybe he is, maybe he isn't, but he's on the cusp of being in the NFL at work. So it's like you got to see that through.
Yeah,
you just have to.
Yeah, he seems a little bit shy.
He does.
I think if he can get that confidence boosted, I think we'd see even better. But
so you coach soccer too, right?
Yeah, this is my first year where we actually have records and a playoff for Tristan, my oldest, not for Logan.
All right. So my thing is like he was doing that drill. Wheeler was doing that drill and just doing it completely wrong.
The ladder drill?
Yeah. This is a professional, just like my 5th and 6th graders. All right, now go through the cones and they just have no clue or no concept of what they're trying to do, but they do it anyway.
Right.
Trying to be a professional football player doing the same thing. Just like, dude, the drill isn't just move your feet. It's like in a specific manner.
Exactly. It's like when you're out there and you're yelling, keep those feet churning, keep those feet churning. I mean, that's basically what you're doing, right?
Right. But I mean, with this ladder drill, it's supposed to be going in and out of the squares, not just just whatever you want to do with your feet.
I was actually surprised how well Velus did with it, to be honest.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, Velus Jones' athleticism has never been the question.
Correct.
Correct. It's about, can you focus on doing the fundamentals? Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I'll be honest, we don't make our kids do the ladder drill.
Oh, yeah, we don't do the ladder drill either. I'm just saying any type of.
Yeah, the in and outs of cones, though. That
it's like, here, these are the skills we're working on. These are the steps you're supposed to do in the drill.
Right.
And then the kids go and then just do whatever they want to do anyway. Like,
exactly.
And I just thought that was funny. That's basically what Ian Miller was doing with that. It's like, I'm just going to run. I don't know.
Yeah.
This ladder is just a suggestion, right?
But that also showed how much he stands up while he runs, right? Yeah. Like, he's got to get low.
Right.
Even on that drill, he's just like.
Yeah. But, I mean, what is he? Played at Howard? I mean, I'm
Howard.
Sure he wasn't punished.
Exactly.
And King even made a comment about that too, right? Like, it's going to be, I forget exactly how she phrased it, but like, you're going to just naturally start playing low because otherwise you're going to keep getting crushed.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So yeah, anything else you want to touch on the episode? And then before we maybe just talk about cuts a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's cut down day, right? Not really shown in the episode that much. I don't really have anything else that stood out to me, to be honest. It
was really just a bunch of meh. We all know what the highlights were from the game. They went over the highlights. We know who played well, who didn't. And now we even know who made the team, who didn't. I really don't have much on the episode.
I guess, okay, so what my thought was is I have Justin's and my 53-man roster projection, and then I made changes to okay, where did we go wrong? And I added the guys that we missed, right? But before we go to that, knowing that there's one more episode left, And from what I understand, they don't do a lot of you get to see the guys being cut anymore. I think it's like they decided it was, the league decided like that's probably not something that we should be showing the world.
Yeah.
But, like what are you hoping to see in that final episode? Are you hoping to see more of that beginning part of the episode? Because we have no game footage now, right? Like there's no.
I mean, I do want to see some actual, like, what actually happens. I'm not saying like minute to minute at practice, but how are these players interacting with each other? How do the players interact with the coaches? How do they interact with the drills they're expected to do? Like, we know that there was like a fight at practice. Was that supposed to be in this episode, right? So I mean, why that wasn't featured? Like, so I mean, I don't really know necessarily what to expect. It would be really nice if we do get some of that table talk about cuts.
I like the table talk idea. I'd be okay with some of the like one-on-one talks with the coaches or with the front office. Maybe not necessarily like, oh, you're being cut, but like, we saw the DJ Moore signing happen live basically, and then we saw the way that he went out afterwards and like interacted, like some of that type of stuff. Is something that I'd be interested in.
We saw some insight into the Judon stuff.
Yes.
Maybe just a little bit.
Oh, yeah, the 2 trades. None of that happened.
Yeah, they happened yesterday, though, right? Or was it Sunday and yesterday? So maybe there wasn't enough time to edit it in, or maybe they know they didn't have game content.
That's probably what it is.
So they just, are going to fold it in. But
that's probably what it is.
You hope, for the benefit of the doubt, you hope.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to have to hope for. I don't know if we're going to get it. We'll see.
And we're going to watch, whatever.
Yeah.
We'll watch and then, talk about it. So.
And honestly, if it's a Tuesday, so it's the Tuesday after Labor Day, right? So, I mean, if you don't have anything going on, we can do a 3-panel if, if Justin's available again.
Tuesday. No, not good for me.
Okay.
Yeah. I got my other fantasy draft Tuesday night.
Oh, okay. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Bob is our commissioner of our big fantasy league that Justin and I co-manage in, and we will be doing that draft on Labor Day.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Looking forward to that.
All right, let me throw up so this is where we were. This was our offensive 53-man roster projections, and I thought we did pretty well. So there's only 2 guys on here that we thought we're going to make it and did not. And one little caveat here is Jake Curhan, who was with Seattle. We actually kept him because we thought that there was a possibility Ryan Bates might be the IR stash, right? We were kind of thinking that way and like, oh, well, I know Matt Pryor plays both ways, but if Bates we felt like we might need more of like an offensive tackle depth, especially thinking Larry Borum might also be the IR stash. So we went with Curhan, but I will say Bill Murray was the other guy that we considered, and that is the other guy that was kept. So
I mean, a couple things. Like, it looks like it. Whatever, you guys were spot on. We heard Cunningham say at the beginning of the episode he expected 3 quarterbacks, whatever it was. So obviously, it's gone.
Yep.
But the fact there'll be 10 O-line, I think that means they're definitely going to put one of those O-linemen on the IR. I don't know who it's going to be. I don't know if it'll be just Amagaji on the 6-week temporary IR, but I assume that the IR move is going to come with one of these offensive linemen. You don't need 10. I was really surprised to see Doug Kramer make the team. Is this the first time he made the team in his 3 years?
Yes, I believe. Well, yes, for the 53. Yes. Yeah. Now, here's where I'm at with the Doug Kramer situation. I think here's how I'm projecting it. I think Ryan Bates isn't healthy enough to play week 1.
So maybe he's the temporary 6-week or whatever. Yeah.
So I don't think he's going to go on like IR, but I don't think he's going to be out long enough. That's why I'm sorry, I should lead with this. I already saw Larry Borum is going to be their IR stash for the offensive line. So he's going to be their IR stash, and then they have Jacob Martin as the other IR stash.
Right, but Borum got to the IR without having to make the 53, just like Wheeler, right? I mean, there's different.
No, Borum was put on the 53 and then IR.
Oh, I got you. So that just happened already.
Yeah, it just happened a few hours ago.
Got you. All right.
So I already know that. So again, I think Ryan Bates might just miss week 1, maybe week 2, and they just want to have Kramer as a backup center option. But once Bates is healthy, you're going to see, I think, Kramer get waived probably clear waivers and then put back on the practice squad.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to say I don't like Doug Kramer. I think he's fine. I think he's acceptable as, end of the roster type of guy. I thought the number crunch would be such that, Doug Kramer wasn't the one who was going to get on the team, basically.
I didn't think so either. I was very surprised, to be honest.
Yeah.
The other situation here with Brett Rippon and Austin Reed didn't make the team either. So, as you said, they only have 2 quarterbacks. Yeah. In fact, I should have put slashes through the numbers there. But the quarterback number is not 3, it's 2. And what's interesting is they have 2 quarterbacks with only 1 full year of experience. And within that 1 year, have only played in 5 games and started 4. So that's a very young, and I know we think Caleb Williams is going to be, fine and great, but and I think Tyson Bagent is proving to be a solid backup, but you would think you'd want someone in there with experience. It's a really good chance that Rippon doesn't sign anywhere.
I like Rippon, but I don't think anybody's saving a 53-man roster spot to get Rippon off of waivers.
Right, right.
As a free agent, I guess they don't have to be waivers. He can go anywhere he wants, but I expect him to be. I don't know the exact way the new emergency quarterback rule is. Do you have to be on the 53 to be your emergency, or is that someone you can just have off the 53 and still be your emergency? There's some new rule this year. So they were trying to make it where. No, I'm thinking of the IR stash. I'm sorry. The IR stash was that you didn't have to be on the 53. That's what the rule, but then it got vetoed by the NFLPA. With the quarterback, I think it's just the same as 2023, where they were going to make it unlimited. That's what they were going to do. They're going to make it an unlimited. You could just stash him on your practice squad. Didn't have to be a part of your 53. Yeah, that's what I was.
They canned that. They brought it back to what was last year. So it's going to be that they have to be a part of your 53 man as of right now. So at some point, if you're going to bring in a third quarterback to be that emergency QB, he's going to have to be put on the roster before he goes to the practice.
So there's more moves to be made before week 1 because you can't go into a game with.
Now you're going to see all these cuts.
Yeah,
you see this roster. It's not going to stay this way. I mean, perfect example. They already said Kari Blasingame, and he's not on here. He's on a separate slide. Is already being cut, but already he's vested, so he doesn't have to be waived. He's already agreed to re-sign tomorrow once they put one of those IR guys on IR because they just have to be on IR for 1 day.
Yeah, I mean, one of my only notes I actually made about these roster cuts is today and maybe tomorrow are the only times anybody ever cares about numbers 44 through 53 on the 53-man roster. It really doesn't matter.
As far as fans, right?
It doesn't matter. All these we got the list of names here. That's great, but I don't know whether there's 20 some names on there. Really, only 17 of them matter, and that's whatever. The other ones are all interchangeable as needed, and shouldn't get too caught up in exactly who they are, even though we'd like to, because what else are we going to do? But,
yeah. All right, let's look at the defensive side real quick. We weren't as good on this side. We had 3 guys here that we got wrong. However, again, I'm going to say, so the Byron Cowart selection here is because Justin and I predicted that Zach Pickens was going to be an IR stash.
Okay.
But we noted that, hey, if he's healthy enough, Byron Cowart's not being kept. He's being cut, right? So that right there kind of picked up that one. Him and I argued over Micah Baskerville. I wanted Noah Sewell. I just felt like they were going to keep with their draft pick. Baskerville was cut last year too and brought back to the practice squad, so I kind of thought it was going to be the same thing. I went with Justin on that one. He won that argument, so
I would have swung the vote in your favor. Baskerville was fine. He had a good, but this is where I say, you can't get caught up in who the bottom of the roster is. Noah Sewell's a better guy. He's got the drafts. It doesn't matter really. Baskerville he's just a practice squad guy in the NFL.
Right.
Happy to have him on your practice squad, but whether or not Baskerville makes the team is whatever. It's a nicer story than an actual impact.
Yeah. Now, I will give Justin props. He wanted Daniel Hardy. I thought that there was no chance Daniel Hardy was being on this roster. I thought it was going to be another Travis Gibson, Darrell Lewis situation.
Same thing. He's a nice story. I get it. But it would not surprise me if Hardy isn't even still on the team by week 1. He's like, I've made a list of guys who I think are the earliest cuts for whatever reason, and it's Kramer, Jaylon Jones, Daniel Hardy, and Travis Homer. Like, those guys are redundant on the roster. They don't stand out. Yeah, they had nice camps, I guess, for Homer. I don't know what Homer did in this game.
I don't understand why Homer's still on this team.
Yeah, it's just because he's such a well-rounded special teams player, and that's a real thing. I truly believe that that's a real thing. But again, like I said, I have him listed as just a redundant player. So if you have to get rid of somebody to get somebody who could make an impact, yeah, Homer can go. Daniel Hardy, you get nice story. Maybe he earned his way onto the roster by playing well, but like, he's not, look at everyone's ahead of, especially Taylor now. Like, Darnold, he's a guy with just actual NFL production.
Right.
Like, where is Daniel Hardy's reps coming from?
So you're probably going to say the same thing, but what about Reddy Stewart? Do you think he's going to clear waivers?
I do not. I think he's getting picked up somewhere. Absolutely.
That's what I think. I've already heard that Brendan Bates, the tight end, is going to be getting picked up. Teams are interested, so he's probably not going to clear waivers. But Reddy Stewart and Brendan Bates is another guy Justin wanted, by the way. And I was on board because he does well on special teams.
One of the other things Bates didn't necessarily stand out to me. I'm sure whatever he did, but like, the biggest thing that stands out to me on this roster is that there's only 3 tight ends and no fullback. That seems like a hole on the roster, where before week 1, I expect that to be addressed by more than just like bringing Blasingame back. Like, I expect there to be a 4th tight end on the roster.
Yeah, I think they were hoping that Bates would clear, but I don't. Again, according to Brad Biggs, there are many teams that are already interested, so I think he's not going to.
Yeah, and there's waiver claims that the Bears can make too. So you don't really know. You just don't really know. Yeah,
well, going back to your at end of the roster guys, I won't take this too much longer, but at end of roster guys, the my thing with DeAndre Carter was, I mean, yes, he's shown it, but at the same time, like, if you find that there might be someone who's doing better as a punt returner for you, he might be out there, right? Like,
yeah, he could definitely be one of the bottom, 4, 5, 6 guys on the roster for sure.
Yeah. So again, the IR thing, we got the Zach Pickens part wrong. It was Jacob Martin, who was our backup at that spot anyway. But yeah, so the guys we did miss out on was Travis Homer, which we've already touched on. Doug Kramer, we've already touched on. Bill Murray, we joked about it. We wanted him just for the comedic relief. Daniel Hardy is on the team that we I didn't think he was going to make it. Pickens wasn't the IR stash, so he's on it, and then Noah Sewell. So I felt overall we did pretty well because none of these guys were guys that were like, oh my gosh, right? Like, only one that I'm a little disappointed about, but I said on our show, like, Justin won me over. I said Reddy Stewart wasn't going to make this team, but he was the one guy I was like, look, I would pound the table for him just because to me, he's a ball hawk and he was a ball hawk in college.
He's got instincts he just can't seem to teach. And
I think the only thing is that they are so deep at corner.
So, I mean, that's the one thing. Like, I know the guy's been on the roster for a while, so maybe he's got tenure or whatever, but like, Jaylon Jones doesn't really move the needle for me. I think he's like very much in the Baskerville type of player. Like, solid player in a pinch. Like, let's call on him. We can depend on him, but like, I don't know, maybe he's a much better special teams player than I thought, or maybe he's got some more flexibility to play inside or outside than Reddy Stewart. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's what we'll get in next week's episode. I doubt it. But,
doubt it.
That's the one that stood out to me. It was just like, Jaylon Jones seems like a guy that, you don't really worry about whether you miss out on him or not. But, we'll just see what happens these next few days. Like I said, let's not get too hung up to, excited or upset one way or another about some of these end of the roster guys because they're end of the roster guys.
Yep. Well, that's all I got. I really appreciate you coming on with me tonight so I didn't have to talk by myself.
Always fun.
Did you have anything else to add?
I see my little poster here sneaking into frame a little bit, but maybe it's not. All right. No, I'm just, excited for the season to start. Really excited.
Well, good luck with your fantasy draft on Tuesday. I hope you fail miserably on Monday.
See, at least we got 4 other components to maybe make up for it.
That's true. All right. Well, we will end the show as always. Bear down, claws up, and have a good night.
All right. Take it easy, Outlanders.